Welcome back to the Whiskey Explorer. So tonight we have a very exciting video tonight because we are doing the very first Whiskey Explorer unboxing of the wonderful Jura Superstition. But even more exciting and even more important is I am joined tonight by my lovely wife, Alice, and she will be giving us her expert tasting notes on the whiskey tonight. So it'll be fun to collaborate and do a video with a guest so that I can hear some other people's opinions and compare them against my own. So without further ado, let's introduce the whiskey. So, Jura Superstition, so from the Isle of Jura. And one of the cool things about Jura is there's not very many people on it. So, from what I understand, there's about 300 people on the Isle of Jura, and the number of deer outnumber the number of people. So, kind of a cool little tidbit there. And they've got this lineup of whiskeys. So they have the Prophecy, Origins, this is the Superstition, then they also have Jurik's Own, and Jurik means someone from the Isle of Jura, is somebody who is Jurik. So, what's kind of cool about this is that this line of whiskeys from Jura is being phased out. So they've gone in a different direction with their marketing and with their branding, and they will be coming up with a whole new line of whiskeys, and you will no longer be able to purchase these ones. And so this is why it's a little bit of a special bottle that we're doing tonight. And the Jura Superstition is listed as being lightly peated. Now this is what they call in the whiskey world or the Scotch world an NAS, so non-age statement. So we do not have an age statement here. We don't know how old the whiskeys.
What does that mean again?
So NAS is no age statement, means we don't know how long the whiskey was aged for this particular bottle of whiskey.
Okay.
So we don't have an exact number, but my guess is that it's probably between 10 to 14 years old, give or take. So no age statement for this guy.
Okay.
Alright, so the unboxing. So pretty cool little box, as you guys can see. I do quite like the theme on there. We've got the ocean in the background there, probably images from the Isle of Jura itself. Without further ado, let's do the unboxing. So
I don't really like the box, actually. It's kind of...
You don't like the box?
No.
Oh, well.
I see nicer.
Everyone's a critic, right?
No.
So that's the actual one right there. And this lineup of whiskeys, before they change to their most recent offerings, their new lineup, is they all feature this little metal fiddly bit on there. And this one here looks like an eternity cross of some kind on there. And it says Jura Superstition, lightly peated single malt Scotch whiskey, smoke and spice. Bottled at 43% ABV, and no information about whether or not it's non-chill filtered or colored. So we have to assume that we've got that good old E150A caramel color added to that. Anyways, without further ado, let's do the opening of the bottle here. So, just this is going to be a cork closure on this guy here. And just price point wise, this one runs about, so if you can still find it in your region, so in Victoria I picked this one up for $72.99.
What? Jeffrey!
It's a good deal.
Oh my god.
It's a good deal. And it was a whiskey that I always wanted. It was right there with, like, you know, right in my top 3 whiskeys to get. And I've already tried this one, so I do know that it is a whiskey I like. So I figured, you know, it's worth it to get one that I like and that I enjoy. So,
I don't like the packaging for that much money. They should step that up.
So there you go.
I don't know.
You gotta have the woman's opinion, right?
It doesn't look that expensive.
Just not that expensive?
Looks like a cheap bottle.
Looks like a cheap bottle.
Stuck in the 2000s.
Stuck in the 2000s. Alright. Okay, well there you have it, folks. Alright, so let's give this guy a try. Alright, so I love to do the uncorking. Ah, thank you.
Don't do that.
I always do that. That's my uncorking. That's how I do it.
Why am I smelling a cork?
So I like to smell. I always smell the cork. So you got to smell it. It smells good.
Is it the bunghole of this?
It's not. Don't. We'll have to edit that one out in post. So great to have my wife joining me on the first show and already contributing to edits. That's perfect. All right. So I already pick up on the cork. Definitely some peat, some caramel, some butterscotch. I get a milk chocolate note on there, and I would say some coffee. You get a coffee note. Alright, so Alice is going to do the tasting first to let you guys know what she finds in the bottle. She specifically asked me at dinner tonight, we went out for dinner, and she said, well, why don't you get me to do the tasting first so that I'm not influenced by the things that you find, because I don't think I'm going to be able to find anything in there. So I think this should be a very interesting tasting. So let's, without further ado, let's get a dram poured here.
Probably get 1 or 2 smells.
Okay, good. So that's the first thing you're going to do. You're going to nose it. And when we pour it, I also like to give a note on the color. So this guy there, the color on that is, I'd call that a pretty deep copper color. So quite a bit of color in there. Nice dark copper.
Is this food coloring in here?
So yes, it could be. E150 is a caramel coloring that they often add to whiskeys, and the reason they add the E150 is to keep the bottles consistent across the line. So let's say you walked into a liquor store and this didn't have a gift box on it and it was lined up with all the other bottles of whiskey, everyone would look exactly the same because they're trying to basically make sure that it looks that way.
Okay.
So I'll just pour myself a little dram here too.
This one has legs.
Yeah. So first you're going to do your smell.
No, but I can see that there has legs.
Yeah, that's good.
Right?
Yep.
Not every Scotch has legs.
Every Scotch probably does, but that's okay.
Not every Scotch.
So now you're going to nose it, so stick your nose down in there. Stinks. That's the taste, the smelling, the nose note from Alice's.
Am I supposed to smell things right now?
Absolutely. Do you get anything on the nose? Any flavors or any tastes you could pull out?
No, it just smells like alcohol.
Just smells like alcohol. Okay. So,
Might.
do you smell any peat?
Well, yeah, but yeah, that's stating the obvious. I'm trying to.
So then you state that.
Okay, I smell peat.
Good. What else do you smell?
Booze.
Booze. Okay, good. Those are definitely in there.
Vanilla?
Yeah, vanilla, absolutely. I get that too.
Got one.
What else?
No, that's it.
Okay, so I got also get on the nose caramel and butterscotch.
Yeah, I got caramel, but it's because it's caramel colored. I didn't want to, you know.
Yeah, so definitely caramel is definitely a tasting note, or well, in this case, a nosing note. So then
Now we drink it.
we've kind of commented on the color. We've done the nose, but I don't really want to do a viscosity note until we taste a little bit of it and see how oily it is.
What difference is that? Oh.
Well, I do remember this one being quite oily. Okay, and then you can do that, swish it around your glass slowly.
What does this do? Just opens it up?
It opens it up a little bit, and so the general rule of thumb is that for an age statement whiskey, like a 12-year-old whiskey,
Yeah.
you would let it sit for 1 minute for each year.
Wow.
So a Dalmore 12, you let that sit for 12 minutes. We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And we also don't know what the age statement is. So after you kind of let that open up just a little bit, then you just take your first sip and see what you can find. Delicious, right? See, this is the thing. You guys out there, you'll have to comment and like the video and subscribe and let me know what you think, because it's really interesting to get the women's perspective, because as you guys out there know, it's not all that common for our partners, our female companions, to get into Scotch whiskey, and definitely not the peated stuff. So I'm starting her off with a pretty challenging whiskey for someone who doesn't like Scotch and doesn't like whiskey.
This one tastes like cigarettes.
This one tastes like cigarettes.
It does.
Oh no. So elaborate. Are you getting some smoke in the flavor?
Tastes like cigarette butts.
Tastes like cigarette butts. Oh gosh, guys. So, Jura, if you're watching out there, if you're reviewing this video, gotta take it with a grain of salt. So.
I'm trying. This is
all
what
right.
I'm tasting.
Okay.
I don't have the taste buds.
All right. So I'm gonna go in for a taste. You find anything else in there?
Spicy?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so for me, a guy who enjoys a peated whiskey, and sometimes quite a heavily peated whiskey,
Really peated?
this is very light on the peat smoke. So if you are just getting into peated whiskeys, this is a good one to try, because intermingled with the the smoky finish or the peated finish that you get from the whiskey is a really sweet, creamy viscosity to this whiskey. I would say you have honey in there. You definitely have butterscotch, caramel, vanilla. I was detecting some milk chocolate in there as well, definitely a chocolate note, or a dark chocolate even, maybe like a lighter dark chocolate note. Caramel, butterscotch as I mentioned, and definitely a hint of the peat. So the viscosity of this is, it's got this nice kind of full, rich mouthfeel to it, which I really enjoy. And I would say it's interesting because I looked this whiskey up, did a bit of research on some reviews to see what other people were thinking of it. And the reviewers at, or the guys who run the Whisky Exchange, which is an online ordering service, we of course can't get it here in Canada, but it's huge for the UK, and I don't know if the US can order it or not, but they said its consistency is quite creamy, and they compared it to Chantilly cream. So that's like a liqueur, but I haven't tried it, but it does have a really nice mouthfeel to this whiskey. So Alice's tasting notes are, what would you say? Go for your tasting notes, Alice. Take it away.
Cigarette butts.
Okay, cigarette butts. Okay, solid.
Booze.
Booze.
Spicy.
Yep. Spicy.
Numbing.
Numbing.
And double up with ashtray.
Double up with ashtray. Solid ashtray. 2 ashtrays out of 2. Okay, so I'll go in and I'll give you guys my tasting notes on this guy. Already started that out a little bit. See what else I can find. So third sip here. So this tastes to me like a rich, full-bodied whiskey, very malty, lots of caramel notes, lots of butterscotch, some vanilla. On the finish, I get, that's where the peat comes alive. So even like start to the palate, mid-palate, not really getting too much of the peat influence. I get a little bit at the very beginning, a little hit of peat, but it's subtle. The finish is where the smoke comes in, and it's a nice finish. Definitely get the smoke, and I get those spices that Alice was mentioning. So if I'm just sort of trying to identify spices there, there's a little bit of black pepper, there's maybe a little bit of cinnamon, maybe a little bit of cayenne pepper, and I would say, you know, cinnamon, nutmeg, sort of a little bit more...
Antiseptic?
Antiseptic is not the word I'd use, but, you know, to each their own, right? And this again, it's bottled at 43%. So for me, I really wish that Jura had have bottled this higher. I would have loved to have seen it around the 46% mark for ABV. I think you would have got even more interesting flavors come to life.
Do you get more drunk when they do that?
Yes. The higher ABV, the stronger the alcohol. Alright, so that has been a guest appearance from my wife Alice on the Whisky Explorers. And this has been Jeff and with Whisky Explorer, and I'm going to sign off on that note. So cheers.